What is up? GoodMicWork back at you with your post-SummerSlam Monday Night Raw review, as well as a ton of other wrestling news to get into as well. It has been a busy 48 hours. That is pretty much a wrap on SummerSlam weekend, although we do have SmackDown Live tomorrow night. This is take two of recording this commentary. I just made a couple of tweets about this, and I'm sure anybody else who's a content creator can relate to this. Every now and then, we make a mistake. Every now and then, we put in a ton of work that cannot be used. And I just recorded a long, beautiful, delicious commentary on Monday Night Raw and realized that I accidentally had a different setting turned on my microphone, and my voice sounded like shit. It sounded like an echo sound effect or something like that you would hear in a horror movie. So I thought to myself, I'm like, okay, I can still use it. As I began editing it, I'm like, I can't use this. I gotta redo it. So I'm a little bit pissed off, but that's the type of thing that happens when you're a content creator. I can't tell you how many times I've recorded the first 5 minutes and I never even hit the record button, or I rendered an entire commentary and noticed I had the episode number wrong or something like that. So there's all sorts of things that can happen when you do stuff like this, and this is one of them. So anyway, like I said, this is take two. A ton of stuff to get into tonight. Before we get into everything here, I also just want to give you a little bit of a programming note. Number one, I am working on the Q&A. I hope to have that to you before the end of the month. It might overlap a couple of days into September, but I definitely want to give that to you within the next 2 weeks. So there's still time to send in a question. Most of you know it's email only. Send them to goodmicwork@gmail.com. That's the only way to ask a question if you want to be a part of this. Also, I talked about a DVD review in recent weeks as well. I have just postponed that a little bit because I want to give you that in September, because I mentioned this a few weeks back that the month of September is going to be very weird on the channel. It might be a little bit inconsistent because I'm going to be going through a relocation and a little bit of a life transition, and we actually have to move into a place for a couple of weeks before we move into the new place. So things are just going to be a little bit discombobulated, and I'm not sure how consistently I'm going to be up here to give you guys content, especially weekly after Raw and after SmackDown. I'll probably still be up here, but they might be on off days. They might be incredibly delayed. I might even skip a week or something like that. So I wanted to give you guys this Q&A and then a DVD review, so you still have content coming to you in September in case things are just a little funny. But by the time we get to October, everything will be back to normal. Of course, the big news that broke earlier on in the day, and kind of last night too, people were speculating that Finn Balor may have been injured in his match with Seth Rollins because he was spotted with his arm in a sling in the hotel or whatever after the show, so some people were wondering what had happened. And then about an hour before Monday Night Raw, WWE officially announces it. Mick Foley tweets out the belt that Finn Balor is going to be relinquishing it on Monday Night Raw. So that was a huge blow. WWE.com had confirmed the injury earlier on in the day, and then a couple of hours later is when they said he will, in fact, be stripped of the title, and he's going to be out about 6 months. He has to have surgery on this shoulder. So I cannot tell you how unbelievably heartbroken I am. I think all of you are as well. This injury took place during the running powerbomb spot. Now, this is the second person that has gotten seriously injured by this move. Seth Rollins performed this on Sting a year ago, and it kind of ended his career. And the same thing with Finn Balor now. He throws him into the barricade on the outside of the ring, and he just lands funny and ends up dislocating his shoulder and popping it back in. And he's got a torn labrum, needs to be worked on. I've had shoulder problems before myself, and I know that shit hurts, and it sucks, and it can linger. So hopefully Finn Balor can get back within that time frame, and he can at least make it back before WrestleMania. But how disappointing is it for this guy who is going to be the first ever champion, the inaugural champion, and he has to give it up the night after. He can't even get out of the blocks. He can't even have his first match. So unbelievably, horribly heartbreaking. I think the fans were disappointed. I'm disappointed. I'm so bummed. Injuries are a part of wrestling. They cannot be avoided. But I don't know how many times WWE has been completely fucked in the ass by a stroke of bad luck or an injury or whatever. We saw what the injuries did to the card at WrestleMania 32. And this is something that, with the brand extension just taking place and WWE trying to make a brand new guy and putting so much time and effort into Finn Balor over the past few weeks, for him to get injured and go down like this, it really throws a monkey wrench in everything, and WWE's got to rethink all of their plans that they might have had penciled in over the next 6 months. So I cannot tell you how disappointing this is, not only for Finn Balor and the opportunity that it's cost him, but for, the great TV we probably would have gotten as fans with this program, because I'm sure Seth and Finn we're going to have to work again. So maybe for now, WWE, ask Seth Rollins to stop power bombing people into shit. I can't wait to hear what Bret Hart must have to say about this. Bret Hart's already come out and trashed Seth Rollins for being a sloppy worker. I don't even think it's like that. Seth Rollins is great. I think a lot of this is just bad luck. He didn't mean to smash Cena's face last year. He didn't mean to do what he did to Sting. And he didn't mean to do what he did to Balor last night either. But I think that move is dangerous, and they need to rethink it. I mean, the curb stomp has never hurt anybody, and that's banned. But this thing has injured 2 high-profile careers, so maybe they should think about just not fucking doing it anymore. Poor Finn Balor had to come out there in front of everybody tonight in New York and forfeit the Universal title. Mick Foley and Stephanie were in the ring waiting for him. They let him cut a promo. He cut a good one. And I loved what he said. He said, make no mistake about it, when I come back, the very first thing I'm coming for is this. I'm going to want it back. So I'm hoping that WWE does, in fact, do that with him when he does return. And he winds up handing the belt over to Stephanie and Mick, and they allow him to leave, and the fans are giving him so much love. And he's exiting the ramp, and he's almost out of there when Seth Rollins' music hits. He comes out there laughing like an asshole. It's got to be awkward for him. He probably feels guilty for injuring Finn, and now he's got to come out on TV and be a dick to him. Oh, it's kind of put Seth in a weird spot, but Seth comes out to the ring and basically thinks that since Finn Balor is injured, that just automatically makes him the Universal Champion. And that prompts Sami Zayn to come out, Enzo and Cass to come out, Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens, Roman Reigns, a whole bunch of people come out there. And I'm like, oh fuck, what kind of a silly-ass, jumbled clusterfuck match are they going to make here? So Stephanie and Mick decide that they're going to have a whole bunch of matches tonight, 4 of them, and the winners of those 4 matches will be entered into a fatal 4-way match next week on Monday Night Raw to crown the new Universal Champion. Now, if you ask me, I would have actually preferred it if WWE would not have been legit with this. I appreciate their honesty sometimes, and I like it when they don't try to insult the fans' intelligence or whatever, but I would have liked them to maybe try to keep this injury a little bit quiet and maybe do some sort of an angle where they mention the injury, they say that he hurt his shoulder, but maybe don't let the fans know that he has to actually take time off and have surgery for this thing. And so maybe they have him come out there and cut a promo and says, yes, I am hurt, but I'll be fine, in a couple of weeks. And then Seth Rollins comes out to the ring and, basically like provokes him or goads him into a match, into defending the title injured, much like Edge did with Kennedy years ago when he challenged him to a match for the briefcase. So I thought maybe they could do something like that. Seth could attack Finn, get a cheap shot, end up just kicking the shit out of his shoulder for 2 or 3 minutes, protected, of course, so Finn doesn't further the injury any worse, and then end up pinning him and beating him for the title, and that way you just have a new champion and you can go with Seth instead. I'm wondering if they knew last night during the match, if they would have somehow known that this injury was going to put him on the shelf for 6 months, I'm wondering if they would have changed the finish. So every now and then, I like to be a wrestling fan again, and I wish the WWE would have worked me. I really would have preferred that scenario, I think, than stripping him of the title, because the title is brand new. Finn is the first person to hold it, and he's got to let go of it the very next night. It's not off to a very good start. This title's off to a extremely rocky start. So, having something like Seth winning it, and just carrying it from there, I thought would have been a little bit more fun, I guess, for lack of a better word, although there's nothing fun at all about this scenario. But instead, they're going to do the big match next week with the 4 guys. Now, they had 4 matches tonight on Raw. Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins opened up Raw in the first match. Seth Rollins beat him clean with the pedigree in a very good match. We had Kevin Owens defeating Neville with a little bit of an assist from Chris Jericho. Jericho was out there helping his BFF. Rusev was also involved in this thing. He was in a match with Cass. Now he's selling the injury from the beatdown that Roman Reigns gave him last night at SummerSlam. He had kind of like a rib protector on. He's got bruised ribs apparently. And in a finish that I really didn't like, Rusev left. He intentionally got himself counted out and said, fuck it, and walked away. To me, the Universal title means a little bit more than that. He should have gutted it out. This is an opportunity to be a world champion, so that doesn't do the title any favors as far as value goes. But it's very possible, too, that Rusev feels the way we all do, and that belt is ugly as shit, and he wants nothing to do with it, and he's literally running away from it. So Cass wins via count out there, and he's now in the Fatal 4-Way, and the final spot goes to Roman Reigns, who main evented Monday Night Raw against Chris Jericho. Kevin Owens was out there trying to help out Jericho as well. This match was a lot better than I expected, and I, for a couple of times, thought Jericho was actually going to win this thing. I thought Roman might tap out to the walls of Jericho. Jericho. Kevin Owens interfered, and Jericho nailed Roman with the code breaker. I thought he was going to get pinned there, but he survives everything, nails Chris Jericho with the spear, and beats him, and he's entered into the Fatal 4-Way as well. Now, I don't know what the chatter is on social media. I don't know what people are saying. I don't know if anybody's necessarily worried about Roman Reigns potentially winning this belt. He's not really my pick at this point. I think he is going to continue his feud with Rusev. I think it's very possible that Rusev interferes or does something to cost Roman Reigns the belt next week, or maybe comes out there and starts brawling with him, and the two of them brawl through the crowd and out of the arena, leaving 3 guys to face for the belt. I certainly at this point wouldn't think that they would put the belt on Roman. I don't think they would go in that extreme of a direction. I think the most likely choice here would be Seth Rollins. However, if they need to move up a guy and bump him up to the top as a main eventer to replace the void left by Finn Balor, you could put it on somebody like Kevin Owens. I would love to see that. My heart's probably actually with him. Big Cass, I don't know. I like Cass. I think he's awesome. I think he's going to be a star. But I would not be putting a world title on him at this point in his career. So I think the smart money would be on Seth Rollins. Kevin Owens would be a nice wild card surprise. And Roman Reigns would make us kill ourselves. So we'll have to wait and see what happens next week. But at this point, I wouldn't be too concerned with Roman Reigns winning it. I'm pretty sure he's going to continue his shit with Rusev. So the good news is we don't have to wait forever. We don't have to wait till the next pay-per-view. It would have been nice if they would have crowned this champion tonight on Raw, but they didn't. We'll wait till next week. I can live with that. So hopefully the Fatal 4-Way match is good, and WWE can survive this horrible stroke of luck with this new guy that they have just made going down 24 hours after he was launched. It's such a fucking shame. And speaking, of course, of that beautiful Universal Championship, there's been a lot of controversy surrounding that as well. I was very vocal. A lot of people were. Everybody hates that belt. It is an absolute piece of shit. And I'm infuriated with the WWE and their shitty-ass marketing department that they could not come up with anything better than that. And Seth Rollins sent out a tweet after SummerSlam scolding the fans, saying he's disappointed in them for being so focused on how bad the belt was and letting that affect the match. Now, he has a point there. I never once combined the belt with the match. To me, they were separate. I was pissed off about the belt, but I wasn't blaming Seth and Finn for that. I was still more than happy to see that match. I was fascinated by the match. I thought it was a great match. I was thrilled with the outcome. I was so incredibly happy for Finn Balor. I couldn't have been happier with the way that match went. The fans were a little off because partially they were burnt out from Cena and AJ, and they were legitimately pissed off about the look of the belt. And when the camera would zoom to it and they would see it on the screen, the entire arena would boo. So Seth is right from that respect. That belt should not ruin a good match and should not diminish the hard work that the two competitors are putting in fighting for that championship. I understand that completely. Seth is 1,000,000% right with me, no matter how mad I am about that belt, and make no mistake about it. I fucking hate that turd on a stick. It makes me so mad that that's all they did. Those lazy pieces of shit. Give us something. Why does everything have to look the fucking same? You took the belt and you painted it. Are you going to do that with every title? Is every title going to look the same now? They're just going to be different colors? Fuck. The fact that they couldn't put forth any creativity or give us something different at all just really disappoints me, but I never once held that against Finn Balor or Seth Rollins. To me, that didn't diminish the value of the title. To me, they're separate. I mean, there's been plenty of occasions where I have not liked the world title. I absolutely hated the spinner belt. We all did. I wasn't even a fan of the Undisputed title in 2002, the one that Triple H, Brock, The Rock, JBL, Eddie Guerrero, guys like that wore. I hated that belt. I haven't really been a fan of any of the WWE title belts since the Winged Eagle belt. So it's nothing new to have a title belt that we don't like the physical look of. It's just the fact that WWE was so lazy with this, it's disappointing. I think that title should have its own identity. It's got a different name. They're trying to develop its own lineage. Why does it have to look exactly like the one that Dean has, except red? That's stupid. So people have come out to defend the decision. Mick Foley also had a lot to say on social media. I read his Facebook post, kind of saying the same things that Seth Rollins was saying, just elaborating on them more. And they're both 100% right. And I'm saying to both of them, it's not about that. I'm not letting it affect how I feel about the match or how I feel about the participants in that match. I'm about as big of a Seth Rollins and Finn Balor fan as you can get. And I never once held it against them. I was so happy that Finn Balor was the first guy to hold that belt. I thought it was awesome. Even though I picked Seth Rollins, I was still just thrilled to death for Finn Balor. So to me, I can separate the two. I still hate that belt with all my heart. I think it's garbage. But at the same time, it's not going to ruin the show for me or ruin a match for me. I didn't take it that far. It was revealed today that Sasha Banks, much to my delight, is only taking time off to nurse an injury. that she's been having. Apparently she is not going to be suspended. I was mentioning in my SummerSlam commentary all the rumors of all of the suspensions, and I didn't read about any today. I thought I was going to wake up and hear all these people got suspended, because that's what the rumor mill was saying all during the day on Sunday while I was watching SummerSlam. Everybody was sending me links to stories about this. Now, it's possible that it could still happen. WWE might have just wanted to wait until this week of TVs before they made the announcement, so maybe Wednesday morning we could hear about a whole bunch of suspensions. But the good news is Sasha is not suspended. She's just being taken off the road to nurse an injury. Now, I think on Raw they were trying to play it up as she was injured on or during the match with Charlotte, but I think this might have been an injury she had before that she's taking time off to take care of. You wouldn't know it from the match. Jesus, that match that her and Charlotte put on was one of the best matches of the night. I really wish that would have been later on in the card. That match placement last night was so fucked up. I don't know what the hell they were thinking. It really screwed up the flow of the show, and I thought that match should have been more close to the end than the beginning. But nonetheless, they put on a fantastic match, and Sasha, please stay alive, sweetheart. We are really, really worried for you. When she takes bumps, she literally looks like she's killing herself, and she's good at it. So hopefully she'll be back sooner than later and resume her quest to become women's champion. And we had a feeling they were going to have to replace her with somebody. Now that she's on the shelf, there's a certain other woman in developmental that fans are kind of ready to see. And Charlotte comes out there tonight to cut her promo and to celebrate with Dana Brooke. She's talking all kinds of shit, says there's nobody left for her to defeat, which prompts Mick Foley to come out, and the fans could smell it. They knew it. They were chanting Bayley from the minute he came out there, and he said, hold the phone, Charlotte. I just want to let you know I have signed the newest and hottest free agent out there. The fans immediately started popping. They could probably tell, too, because during Bayley's entrance, she's got those big dancing tubes or whatever the hell they are. Certainly they got to come out of some sort of an apparatus, so the fans probably saw that shit set up on the stage there. So it wasn't too much of a shock that Bayley came out, and when her music hit, the roof exploded. People love Bayley, and I love that they do. She is such a likable person, and she's absolutely goddamn adorable. I honestly have not watched as much NXT as I should, so I have a hard time really wrapping my head around how over she actually is, especially with older male fans, people that hate John Cena and hate bright colors and hate shit for kids. The fact that they love her just as much as a 5-year-old girl loves her, to me is refreshing and nice to see, and it gives me hope for some of these wrestling fans and their future that they can actually cheer a woman like this. And I think the reason they cheer for her is because of her unbelievable positivity and her performance and her work ethic. She's a fantastic little worker, and she deserves to be up on the main roster finally. I'm glad she's here. She's going to be challenging, apparently, Charlotte right away. She basically challenged her tonight on Raw. That I wish WWE would just hold a little bit of restraint with every time they bring in a girl. She immediately gets a title shot. Paige and Charlotte and now Bayley, which is good for her, but sometimes I just wish the WWE would pump their brakes a little bit. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to complain. Bayley is on the main roster now. I'm happy to see her there. I kind of thought she might be better suited for SmackDown. Finn Balor was going to be the first ever Universal Champion. I thought she would be a really good person to be the first ever SmackDown Women's Champion. Bayley defeated Dana Brooke because Charlotte wasn't dressed to wrestle tonight, so she volunteered Dana Brooke to take on Bayley in her first Raw match, and of course Bayley got the victory there. So I guess she'll be getting the title shot at the next pay-per-view, but I can't help but thinking it might be a tiny bit too soon. The Dudley Boys were teasing a big farewell address to the WWE Universe today on Twitter, saying they were going to come out tonight in front of the Brooklyn crowd and say goodbye. Now, I think a lot of us thought right away that this had to be a swerve. There's no way these two guys are going to retire yet. They're not going to go out like this, are they? I can see them going out soon, don't get me wrong, but I didn't think that this was going to be something that would happen. I was thinking of Mark Henry when he tried to retire, and then it was a big swerve, so I'm thinking they're going to split the guys up. Maybe we're going to get Bubba attacking Devon and turning into that Bully Ray character in the WWE. I've always wanted to see that in the WWE because I think Bubba's awesome on the mic. Or maybe they could swerve us and have Devon be the one to turn heel. They've done the same thing or variations of that in TNA. Even the Aces and Eights were brought up and stuff like that, so I thought it was going to lead to something with the Dudley Boys, but they cut the promo as if they were actually leaving. The fans, I think, even started to believe it. It was really heartfelt. And the biggest surprise was, of all teams, the Shining Stars come out to the ring, and you're thinking to yourself, what the fuck? Okay, don't worry, one of them can still turn on the other, but the Shining Stars cut a ridiculous promo. Dudley Boys eventually heard enough, kicked the shit out of them, and then I'm thinking thinking, okay, maybe they really are retiring and they're going to 3D one more team through the table before they leave. And just when I think that segment's done, Gallows and Anderson attack the Dudley Boys. What the hell is this about? Gallows and Anderson, I thought, was wrapped up in their feud with the New Day, and they're targeting the WWE Tag Team titles right now. So for them to attack the Dudleys, they gave them their finisher and laid them out. To me, was a little perplexing. Maybe it's a way to get the Dudley Boys off of TV for a while. I would have sworn I heard somewhere in recent weeks that they had re-signed a deal or extended their deal. So I really wasn't expecting them to leave, although I could be wrong on that. You guys probably know better than me. So if they're not leaving, maybe they just want to give the Dudley Boys one more run. Maybe when they sign that last deal, it was for one more year, and they say, okay, this is it. This is going to be our final contract. So maybe the WWE wants to give them one final run with the belts. And this attack by Gallows and Anderson, maybe laying them out for a few weeks, could be the beginning of that. So maybe the Dudley Boys take time off, WWE brings them back. You can't really repackage them as a team because everybody knows who the Dudley Boys are, but maybe some time off will, kind of regenerate interest, I don't know. And the Dudley Boys can feud with a potential tag team champion, Gallows and Anderson, because by then they could very well defeat the New Day and be champs, and Dudley Boys can come back and defeat them for the belts for one final run. So that's kind of where I think this might be going, but I'm not entirely sure either. And speaking of Gallows and Anderson, Carl Anderson lost a match to Big E tonight. Big E, of course, is back, reunited with the New Day. They came out there and cut a big promo. They had a piñata filled with booty-os. Gallows and Anderson came out there as well and got in their faces and told them that they intended fully to take those tag belts off of them. So we'll see when that winds up happening. I still expect it to happen. I think at this point, New Day could lose them at any time, and maybe they're just waiting for Big E to come back, and they can go one more pay-per-view or maybe another one after that, and finally drop the belts to Gallows and Anderson. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. Let's see, what else happened on Raw? Oh my God, what about that horrible Titus O'Neil promo? Jesus, poor Titus, bless his heart. He stumbled his words right away, was never able to recover. It was just uncomfortable and awful, and he's trying to run down Bob Backlund and Darren Young. They come out to the ring, he kicks both of their asses. He's full-blown heel asshole now, and the whole segment was just bad and awkward, and just don't put a microphone in Titus O'Neil's hand is my best advice to the WWE. Braun Strowman had another jobber match tonight. They've been alternating these between he and Nia Jax. And this time around, his jobber was named Johnny Knockout, I think, and he's interviewed in the ring, and they're asking him, hey, why are you doing this? Why did you sign for this match? And he said that the reason he did is because he really likes big, sweaty men. And that, to me, made me laugh. And I've read the story that the WWE is going to try to incorporate LGBT storylines into their TV shows and stuff. And if this is the beginning of that, okay. I mean, WWE they got some work to do as far as what they've done with this in the past. We remember HLA, the hot lesbian action from all those years ago with Eric Bischoff. When Goldust came into the company, they were using words like queer and fag on WWE TV, which I was horrified by. So WWE has never really been that tasteful when it comes to any gay storylines they might have. So just this little kind of insert into the show I thought was quite entertaining and amusing, and didn't really have a problem with it. And from what I read, WWE has been heavily coached and consulted on how to handle these storylines in the most tasteful and least disrespectful way possible. And I think the point is try to increase awareness and equality to all is their point at the end of the day. So we'll just have to see how they go about it. But this jobber could have been our first taste of that. And I liked it a lot. I even liked Strowman pinning him twice, making the referee count twice. Reminds me when King Kong Bundy did the 5 count back in the 80s. And I don't know what it is. Every time Braun Strowman's music hits, I laugh my ass off. I literally laugh out loud. I cannot get over how funny that big growl at the beginning of it is. I laugh every time. Other than that, nothing else happened on Monday Night Raw, so we'll get into the Brock Lesnar stuff now. Stephanie was interviewed on Raw, and she said there's going to be repercussions for Brock's behavior at SummerSlam. I don't know what that means, because when you look at the match was fine. Brock didn't really break any laws. I mean, there was an RKO on the table, for fuck's sake. I'm not even sure this thing might have been no disqualification. I don't know. But Brock simply pummeling and beating Randy Orton really wasn't something he should be punished for. The F5 to Shane, possibly yes. So maybe that's what Stephanie's alluding to. And it sucks because now Brock is off of TV. He's sitting at home after kicking the shit out of Randy Orton. And just to elaborate a little bit on that match, too, apparently there was a backstage altercation involving Chris Jericho and Brock Lesnar. Jericho was saying something, or he was a little bit concerned that maybe Brock went too far, or it was a shoot or something like that. I never once thought this was a shoot. A few people were saying, I think Brock, beat up Randy Orton on purpose. Why the fuck would he do that? That makes no sense. So I didn't really think it was a shoot, but maybe Chris Jericho did too. Apparently he was questioning somebody about it, and Brock overheard it. The two of them had words. They had to be separated. I don't know what Chris Jericho was thinking getting in Brock's face. Jesus. Brock seems to me like he's starting to become a thorn in the WWE side. I mean, he's got controversy following him everywhere. So maybe this is an angle to get him suspended. Maybe that's what Stephanie's alluding to. Maybe they're going to keep him off of TV for a while since they're not going to use any of his dates. But, I still think this thing with Randy Orton can't be over. And why wouldn't Brock Lesnar want to come out tonight on Monday Night Raw and put his name in the hat to be a challenger for the Universal title? Does that suddenly not matter to him anymore? He was all about being a world champion a little over a year ago, so I don't know what's going on there. It just would make more sense if Brock Lesnar came out and said, look what I did to Randy Orton. I main evented your pay-per-view and I completely murdered a man. If you ask me, I should be given that belt. But he's going to be off of TV now, and it's just a shame, and I don't know what they're going to do in the future. You got to think that Randy Orton might have to come back and get some sort of revenge on Brock in the future. So maybe Brock's not completely gone. Maybe he'll work Clash of Champions or Backlash or Hell in the Cell even, possibly with Randy Orton, whatever. I don't know which pay-per-view's which. I don't know what one Raw has and which one SmackDown has. I think Raw has Clash of Champions, actually. SmackDown has Backlash. Raw probably has Hell in the Cell because I know SmackDown has No Mercy. So I guess I know where these pay-per-views go. But eventually, these two guys are going to have a match somewhere, I would think, again. I can't imagine this being the end of it. So how long they hold it off, I don't know. Maybe they'll have it at the next joint pay-per-view, Survivor Series or Royal Rumble. Or maybe they won't have it at all. I don't really know what's going on with the Brock situation. I guess we'll find out more tomorrow night on SmackDown. I'm sure Shane McMahon will have something to say, and we'll probably get a pretty good idea after tomorrow whether or not Brock will be back sooner rather than later, or if it's going to be a while. So that is it for me tonight. I'm done with Take Two. I gotta be honest, as I was talking here and recording, I really think my previous commentary was better, but I just could not use that audio. It sounded so bad. So let me know what you think of Monday Night Raw, of SummerSlam, of the Finn Balor injury, what direction you think they could go with in the future. Because you got to think about it, the winner of the match next week needs to have an opponent for the next pay-per-view. So if Seth Rollins wins, who does he face? If Kevin Owens wins, who does he face? If Roman Reigns wins, who does he face? There's lots of things up in the air right now. I think WWE is scrambling and probably rewriting a lot of their plans because a lot of those plans involved Finn Balor, especially as it relates to the Universal title. So things are going to be different now. So let me know what you think about that. Don't forget to send your questions in for the Q&A, and I will talk to you guys most likely later on this week. I doubt I'll be up here immediately following SmackDown on Tuesday. It'll probably be more like Wednesday or possibly Thursday. I might wait until the Cruiserweight Classic episode on Wednesday airs and see where we stand with that and come up and give a little miniature commentary on everything. So keep a lookout for that this week and stay tuned to the channel. And don't forget, send in your questions if you want to be a part of the Q&A. So I will talk to you guys in just a few days. Until then, peace.